Shabbos, amongst all the tragedies, I'd like to share some uplifting stories, both from a perspective of the beauty of the Jewish soul and the Jewish people, as well as some amazing miracles that have taken place and happened for us. So, one of the hostages that was released, the first release last week, Adina Moshe, when she was waiting and waiting for the Tzahal to come and redeem her. When finally the terrorists were ready to let her go, she argued that there was a woman who was older and sicker than her, she's 72 years old, who should be released first. Can you imagine that? You're ready to be released and you're saying that someone else should go instead of you? Who does that? Am Yisrael does that. We had a talk with Rav Rimon, who's one of the great poskim, codifiers of halacha in Israel today. And so a soldier asks him the following question. His son is having a bris on Shabbat. He could be released from the army for a short period of time to be present at the bris, but he would have to leave on Shabbat and come back on Shabbat. Is he allowed to desecrate the Shabbos in order to be at his son's bris? And the rabbi said to him, if the reason you want to be at the bris is because you can't imagine yourself not being at your son's bris, or because your family members will be angry at you if you don't go to your son's bris, then you cannot go. You cannot desecrate Shabbat for that reason. But if the reason is because you need some respite, and going away from the army for those 12 hours will give you that respite, then you are indeed able to leave. And by the way, be at the bris. This soldier gets back to him and says, after doing much soul searching, I've come to the conclusion that I cannot honestly say that I'm going for respite. I'm going for the bris, and therefore I will not be going. And I'll have to educate my children in a different way of what the strength of character, of what it means, the strength of the Jewish people. Wow. Wow, wow. He was given an ability by the rabbi to find the heter, to find the leniency. If he could just say, well, I'm going, say to himself, I'm going for respite, and he could be at his son's bris. And he says, no, if I'm going to be honest with myself, that is not why I'm going, so I will not go. Another similar story he related was a soldiers asking him that they could get off for a few hours to be with their wives. They're young soldiers. They haven't been with them for a while. They've been stuck in Gaza. But the problem is, it's with Shabbat. If they go, the wives are there near them, but they can't stay where they are near Gaza. And so can the wives, they are able to leave to go on Shabbat because they need the respite. But how about the wives? Are they able to travel back home? So the rabbi says, how about you take hotel rooms in Ashkelon? They said, we're young, newly married. We don't have money for that. And right next to him is standing a rabbi from New Jersey. He says, it's on us. We'll pay for it all. And 180 rooms were stayed at by these wives of the soldiers. They stayed in Ashkelon and had that small amount of time with their husbands to give them some respite. The strength, incredible strength of the Jewish people. And lastly, there's a Frum journalist who was positioned with some of the soldiers, and they were davening Shachris in the morning, and one of the commandos says, I want to bench Goimel. I'm going to think thanksgiving to Hashem for a miracle that happened. And after the end of davening, he says, I want to tell you, we've been seeing miracles all the time, and please keep up the prayers, because the Jewish people's prayers and mitzvot are helping and working for us. But this is what happened. The food that we have is nothing special. We have tuna. And the tuna there is not great. It's tuna with oil. And they generally what they do is they open the can and they throw in some tissue that they put on fire, and they kind of smoke the tuna, and it has a better taste. It tastes like smoked tuna. So he's sitting there with the soldiers, and he opens his tuna. He lights it and smokes it. And another soldier says, "What are you doing? It's full of live ammunition all over. You know what you could do with that fire?" So he takes the can of tuna and he throws it I don't know, 60, 70 meters. And all of a sudden, they hear a loud explosion. They all turn towards the explosion. They start shooting. And as things come down, all of a sudden, they see terrorists coming out from a tunnel with white flags, giving up. What happened? The tuna, obviously, which was lit, went into a tunnel shaft and exploded on a bunch of Hamasniks who were waiting to get out and to attack these soldiers. And the fact that he threw that tuna and came exactly into the shaft saved their lives. So we see the beauty of the Jewish neshama, and we see all the miracles Hashem is doing for us. May He continue to do so. Am Yisrael Chai, where the Jewish people live, Hashem, as they started the fighting again, Hashem will certainly protect us. Keep up our mitzvahs. Keep up your prayers for the safety and security of Am Yisrael. Hashem will do miracles for us, especially this day of Chag HaGeula, day of liberation. May all the hostages be liberated. And may Am Yisrael have an absolute, complete victory very, very soon against all of our enemies. Good Shabbos and good Yom Tov.